Out of the 9,038 looks presented across 198 shows and presentations, 97.1% of these were the straight size, that's that thin model size. Only 2% were mid-size and less than 1% were plus size. So, there's barely any representation there for plus size models.
For years, the fashion industry has had a hold on telling us what the ideal body type is. Think of the hourglass figure of Marilyn Monroe right through to the skinny supermodels of the 90s. For many of us, that perfect body type, whatever perfect is pretty unattainable. And now we're in the era of weight loss drugs. We know there's been a rise in the use of them. So it's created this conversation. Is that super skinny figure and look back in trend now? And more importantly, how does it make us feel as we go about our day and that image stays with us as well? We can only help but compare ourselves to what we're told is ideal. That's what we're chatting about in today's episode. I'm Ikra. This is What in the World from the BBC World Service. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm here with Imogen James from the What in the World team. Hey, Imogen.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm keen to talk about this because I know you came to the team and really wanted to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Why was it so important for you?
It's definitely something, you scroll through and you see all these influencers and they're all really tiny and you're seeing a lot of filters that can make you look thinner. So it's definitely something that I think is sort of a worrying trend on social media where we're seeing a lot more skinny bodies in a lot more places. And then, again, juxtaposes because we go to the 2010s where, I remember this too, you might as well, the big body positivity movement. Mm-hmm. So like plus size models, they were everywhere. It was the first time a plus size model was ever in Vogue in 2017. That was Ashley Graham. They're on the catwalks, they're in advertisements, and it was really great. Social media also, there's a lot of people comparing this is how my body really looks, showing cellulite, fat rolls, and really embracing like all types of women, showing this is how we look and it's normal and everyone can be beautiful.
Yeah, felt like there was that real push for diversity on the covers, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it wasn't just skinny and large and everything in between. It was also about muscle as well. There was a real big push for like strong, not skinny. People were going to the gym, women were being empowered by weightlifting.
And so now we're talking about being super skinny, especially skinny, slim build. What do we mean when we say that, though?
Yeah, so obviously there's all shapes and sizes. People are beautiful in all, and you can be healthy no matter how big or small you are. But when we're talking about this, looking at the fashion industry in particular and women's bodies in particular for this episode, I want to sort of define this weight so it's a bit easier for us to talk about. So in the fashion industry, they call the typical thin model that you would see on the catwalks, that is called the straight size. So for a size reference, obviously there's not one standardized size across the world. So I'm going to talk about the UK just because that's where we are. But a supermodel or a model is on average between a UK size 4 and 8. So that's a 24-inch waist, which is very small. But the average UK size of women is actually a UK 16. So it's a 34-inch waist. It's a 10-inch difference. So it's not very representative of the population. And the other thing you have to think about is the height difference as well. Models are normally at least 5'9", whereas the average height is in the UK is 5'3". So you have not only these super tall, thin women, they're often naturally super tall and thin, which, if you're a bit shorter and you're perhaps the same weight as a supermodel, you're going to show that weight in a different way. So we're constantly seeing these really tall, thin models that are either naturally skinny or behind them have really strict diets and really strict workout plans, and it's not obtainable. And that's the worry, is that it's going to push people into unhealthy habits to try and look a way that they're not naturally built to look.
And do you think there's more of these super skinnier models around now?
So it's not necessarily that we're seeing more skinny models, it's that we're seeing less larger models and less diversity in the modelling scene. So I've been using some numbers from the Vogue Business Report. So they've looked into all of the Spring/Summer 26 fashion shows from this year, and they've looked at the sort of diversity in the models that they used. So out of the 9,038 looks presented across 198 shows and presentations, 97.1% of these were the straight size, that's that thin model size. Only 2% were mid-size and less than 1% were plus size. So, there's barely any representation there for plus size models. In comparison to last year, this season's mid-size representation is halved. In Milan, only 4 brands included non-straight size models. Last season it was 8, so that's halved. And New York, which has 70 plus size models in 2023, has 23 this year. So that's gone down in a huge amount. I've seen a lot of other models say that they're not being hired anymore, a lot of plus size and mid size models. The demand has gone down for them. They've spoken out about this. And in the UK as well, we've had recently 3 ads have been banned because the size of the models, it sparked complaints that they looked too unhealthy and too skinny.
The beauty industry really does set the standard for a lot of other sections of society. I know you've been speaking to a model about this as well, right?
Yeah. So I actually spoke to Caroline Bjornelykke. She's a Norwegian model. She started off as a straight size and now she's returned as a curve size. So she told me a bit about what her journey's been like in the fashion industry.
For me, it reached a breaking point when I went to Tokyo to work and they were not happy with my size. They thought that I needed to be skinnier, so they put me on a very hard diet and I had to work out twice a day and I had to come into the agency twice a day to weigh myself. And at that point I was 18 and I was so skinny that I hadn't even got my period. So I just decided that this is enough, I'm going home and letting my body find its natural size. And after that I came back as a curve model. I think I got the most work when I was very skinny, and now that I'm curve I also get a lot of work, but the size in between there's almost no work. So in modeling you have to really fit one category to be able to work. I think the standard size has been the same always, but I think a difference now is that they don't openly body shame you as much. When I was younger, they used to just tell you straight you are fat, you need to lose weight. But I've heard that now they're saying things we need to get you in shape, which basically means going from very skinny to extremely skinny. So I think the pressure is the same, they just hide it better now.
So we heard from Caroline there, and she seems to think that the skinny trend never really left us. It's always been there. I think it's important to talk about why in all of this. Why are we seeing the return? Is it just a case of it being a trend, or what do you think?
Yeah, so I think there's quite a few reasons for this. I think one simple, quick reason is the fashion industry. It's a bit lazy. When it comes to diversity, they make their clothes in the straight size. They usually have sample sizes. They hire models very last minute. If they want to chuck someone on a runway in an item of clothing, it's going to be that tiny size. So it takes a lot more planning and a lot of money and time for them to actually create diverse lineups for their magazines, shoots, and their catwalks. There's also, the real cyclical nature of the fashion industry. Right now, what's been really trendy for the last few years is Y2K fashion, 2000s. I'm thinking low-rise jeans, tiny tops. It's all very small. Mm-hmm. And when people are reaching for these 90s aesthetics, they're looking at reference pictures from the 90s and 2000s. And that is when we had that really skinny aesthetic. And all of these women, they were really gaunt. You would see on the catwalk, it wasn't unusual to see very gaunt figures, bones jutting out. People would even put dark eye makeup on, so it looked like they were tired and sleep deprived and skinny. So this was a really big time for idolizing really underweight people in an unhealthy way. I think that's the key point. It was unhealthy. So people are seeing pictures of people in low-rise jeans. They're tiny, their stomachs are flat, and they're thinking, this is how I need to look good. That's how these clothes are supposed to look on a body. But another big side of this is social media and influencers. So, when I scroll through my For You page, for example, I see a lot of these gorgeous young women, but they're all running around in bikinis and tiny clothes, and they're very thin. And this can have a really negative impact because it can make people think that they have to look a certain way, and that can make them have unhealthy habits to lose weight. The other side on social media is there's a lot of filters now, which can change your appearance. So I had a go at using one, actually. You can see here. So this one has made my face a lot thinner. Yeah. It's sharpened my jaw, my cheekbones. It's actually pouted my lips as well.
Yeah.
And the danger with these is, a lot of them, you can't even tell people are using them. So again, it's this unhealthy image of, oh, I should look like that, but that's not even real.
I guess the other side to all of this is we live in the era of weight loss drugs, the rise of weight loss drugs. We know they're really prominent in our society at the moment. What role do they play in all of this trend, skinny trend?
The issue with that is they're made for people who need them, and some people are now using them who didn't need them. They don't need them. They're just trying to lose weight, which again speaks to this pressure of this real culture right now that you need to be skinny to look good and to be the beauty standard. And I think it's especially disappointing for people and young women when they see people they idolize for perhaps making a name of themselves, for being a curvy model, now losing weight. The other thing about weight loss drugs is because they're so new, we don't really know the long-term side effects of them. So people that are taking these, down the line when they don't really need to take them could be facing health implications. And in the short term, pharmacists and doctors have been warning about short-term side effects. So these can include things like nausea, bloating, and vomiting as well.
I guess the running theme through all this is how trends like these can make us feel, like the mental health impact. What would you say about that?
Yeah, so definitely it can be damaging to your mental health if you're constantly being shown this certain unattainable body type that, is healthy for some people, but if you're forcing it upon yourself, that's not healthy. The worry is that it's making people an unhealthy weight and they're becoming underweight. And when you're underweight, that can cause some serious side effects. You can become dizzy, you can feel cold all the time, you can have low bone density, hair loss, and it can even affect your fertility and your periods.
Gosh, yeah. I know trends are pretty unpredictable. What do you make of this skinny trend, super skinny trend? Do you think it'll stick around? What do you think?
I think no. I think luckily things are really cyclical and, like we said at the start, things come and go and trends will come round and around again. The best thing we can do is just support all women, tell them they're all beautiful. And the great thing is, you can find this diversity still in places if you look for it. There is still people on the internet sharing how their bodies really look in different sizes. And there's still fashion models being used. There's still catwalks and brands using plus size models and mid-size models. So it's out there if you look for it.
We talk about these trends quite a lot on our podcast, but sometimes these trends go even further, affect people's lifestyles, go from the catwalk to really affecting the choices they're making every day in life. So they can be really serious too. Thank you so much, Imogen, for coming.
Thank you.
And if any of the things we've spoken about today you might struggle with or have really affected you, remember you can reach out to a doctor as well. What do you guys think? Is super skinny back? As it never really left us? Comment below, like and subscribe. We're always keen to hear your thoughts. I'm Ikra. This is What in the World from the BBC World Service, and we'll see you next time. Bye.